Welcome to Spiritually Raw. We expose and explore controversial truths, myths, and theories surrounding the spirit world. Guests include QAnon experts, investigators, debunkers, and skeptics of the supernatural, unexplained, and flat-out unimaginable. Content discussed on this show is not necessarily the opinion of the cast of Spiritually Raw, and topics quite often are for mature audiences only. This show is not intended to replace any medical, financial, or legal advice and is for entertainment purposes only. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hello, everybody. How are you? And welcome to Spiritually Raw. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate the energy exchange with you. It's always so good. And we also thank you for those of you who are tuning into the YouTube channel. Thank you for hitting the subscribe button because it does help us get this message out to you super quick and also get you informed about these great guests that we are having on today, which we have on Gene Decode. And April's going to give us a little update on that in just a second. I hope you woke to the most miracle morning, for real. And I hope you are having, from my good friend Gene Decode, who taught me this, having the most fortunate day today.
But you know what, Gene? Jay says that every day now.
On every show I say that, Gene.
Yeah, it's always good to be tuned for service to God and the creator of all things.
Well, I told you I'd be stealing it from you.
Yeah, you're
really
welcome to steal anything. I also noticed you stole a few other terms.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Probably,
No
man.
question.
Don't worry, I'll just keep writing them down. I'll get them. All right, so April, before we obviously are hearing Gene here today, but why don't you?
We have a lot of territory to cover today, so I just want to kind of give you like a general, before we get into it, we're going to be covering.
Sounds great.
Excellent. See, Gene's already ready to go. Reptilian bloodlines. We're going to be talking about, is there a flat earth, the center of the earth, the hollow moon? We have so much to talk about, so I don't want to waste any more time. And let's get rolling.
Let's dive right in. So let's get in with the Moors. A lot of people are asking, Gene, who are the Moors? Can you give us an explanation on that for us?
Yeah, the Moors were a group that actually are the ones that started the math that we know with the conception of zero, which is important if you're going to do higher math. You can't do it without a zero. And then they did a lot of navigational updates and benefits to the human race. They were located in the upper part of Africa, around the area of Morocco and over into the Middle East, like Turkey. And then they started working their way up through Spain into Andalusia. And so the Northern Europeans' response was to bring up the Knights Templar. And that's what started the Crusades, was to push back against the Moors' incursion.
So the Moors, are they the human race? Were they mixed with reptilian? That's the first question. And were they the first inhabitants on our Earth?
From what I'm understanding, the Moors on this Earth are the human race, and a portion of the first human race on this Earth.
And were they of black origin or white?
If you think of how the Turkish people look, and then mix that a little bit with how people are in Morocco, a little bit darker than that. That's with the big nose, the broad nose, real strong cheek line, jawline, very powerful, swarthy body. That's the Moors.
Oh, okay.
Do all races come from the Moors that are here today?
No, we have several groups. You do have the groups that we see, like the Caucasoid, were started out in the Caucasus Mountains, and you have the red type people like the Native Americans, which actually did start out in essentially this area. It's actually Lemurian Atlantis that they were originally starting in, being Lemurian and moving to Atlantis. And then you also have the Asian groups, which were primarily started out in an area that's not known anymore. Civilization was wiped out. It was called Ugar. It's where the Gobi Desert is. It was destroyed by a antimatter bomb, and it's what the Chinese people are harvesting for the Uyghurs. They're harvesting them and enslaving them and harvesting their organs.
The Caucasoid, is that some sort of spin-off, or is that the same as Caucasian?
That's where the term Caucasian came from.
So just so I can get clarity, so have have everyone on our Earth, or has everyone on our Earth then originated from the Moors? And is that how? No.
Oh, 7 groups originally.
Oh, and where did they come from, and how did they get here?
Actually, it's 7 groups and 12 tribes.
7 groups and 12 tribes. Okay. Okay. And so did everybody just then, and they all just came from different parts of our universe, if you would? They just kind of all migrated
We
here?
all originally came from the home world of the human race.
The home world of the human race. Can you give me a little bit more on that one?
Yeah, when after creation was first made, and all the animals and everything, and the Stargate system was created so that beings that would be created that were sentient could, once it became advanced, not have to travel the vast distances of space. Then God created the human race to be guardians of the gates so that they wouldn't be used for conquest. They were put on the central planet that orbited the central sun, which was called Urantia. And the central sun is called Shigra. By the Sumerians, it's Shigra. And by NASA, it's SGRA, which stands, they found it because it's an ultra blue giant. They found it by stellar gravitational radio anomaly. In other words, massive gravitational and radio anomalies coming from the center of that seems what all galaxies orbit.
So then the Sumerians, they were here after, they were not the first ones, and the Anunnaki. Okay, this is where I'm getting confused, because you hear all the time, oh well, the Anunnakis were the first ones. So were they not the first ones?
Not even close, and neither are the Sumerians. You have many civilizations that, as humans were brought down genetically, they were brought down technologically as well. So before Sumeria, you have many vast, very high civilizations, ones that even had space travel. Originally, humans had 48 genetic strands and 4 balls of 12. So, some of the civilizations, like I've already mentioned, Atlantis, Lemuria, and Ugar. There was also Polaria and Hyperborea before that. That's just on this Earth, primary and lapping into the previous home for humanity, which was called Gaia, which was Tiamat. And then before that was Tara, which is in Andromeda before the Milky Way came into being through the Antichrist wave. And then before that was the one I mentioned first, with home for humanity, which was Urantia.
Those homes for humanity, do they have the same, or did they, if they're still in existence, have the same atmosphere, same kind of things, necessities, if you would, like that humans here have on Earth?
Pretty much, but as you go back in time and the human genetic stranding goes up, so does the height. And then, of course, the gravity and those features will change, because one reason we can't be 60, 90 feet tall anymore is the gravity on Earth has increased over the time frame, because it accrues material every year. Just from space debris, it's 200,000 tons. So gravity keeps going up due to the accretion of materials. And so not just the genetics decreasing, but also the gravity increasing necessitates that things cannot get so vastly big like the dinosaurs used to be. You can't have dinosaurs that big now because of the increased gravity.
Now, you said we used to be 60 to 90 feet tall?
Yes, that's why if you look in the pyramid, or in the Valley of the Kings, and in Egypt, you see the temples with huge doors and huge statues. Mm-hmm. Huge doors, not because they're like making it grandiose. That's the size of the door. When you're that big, you need to be able to have a door you don't have to crawl through. And mm-hmm. So that's actually like the doors today are usually 8 or so feet tall. So you have a few feet of clearance. And it's the same thing back then. And those in the pyramids, near the pyramids, and the big, they showed different sized people on the pyramid drawings. And then also in the Valley of the Kings, you have statues, and they're all over the world as well. And those are life size. Those are on scale 1 to 1.
Hmm.
Wait a second. So, like the statues that you see of Lord Shiva or Buddha, um, eh, they are representations of what their real life size was.
No, the ones in the Valley of the King in Egypt are.
Oh, okay,
The
gotcha,
ones
gotcha.
Lord Shiva and that are actually miniatures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's some. So
That's some big
Gina,
people.
I want to go over here to bloodlines, if you would, or blood types, and the Aristo rats, as you call them,
Yeah,
really, yeah, have a specific bloodline. It's RH, right?
Or negative, right?
Rh negative, right?
RH negative, and how is that different from RH positive? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah. So to clone and to create hybrids in cloning, not just cloning, but to create hybrids. In other words, if you're going to mix the original human with some other species to create something else, it was not possible. God put boundaries and walls, essentially firewalls, like you have in a computer, to keep the human genome from being hacked. And so what they had to do was to remove those firewalls. And so as we get the different blood types after O, which is the oldest and the original, then you start taking out factors in the blood. So you wind up with A and then B. And then finally, the final hack that allowed it to be done was creating the Rh negative. All that means is now your genome, your blood is completely hackable so that they could not only clone you, but now they can make a hybrid clone. In other words, a clone of you mixed with some other species.
Hmm.
Okay, so if you're does that okay, so the Rh negative bloodline, is that clonable or that's not clonable?
That's what's absolutely clonable for pure hybrids.
Well, where does the term, when you take a look at the term blue bloods, where does that originate from?
That originates from the first bloodline of Cain, the pure hybrids of the bloodline of Cain, mixing Satan's blood with human blood to create a new species. Again, in this case, they created 13 different bloodlines, or the 13 tribes of Cain, and so we have the Canaanites coming up, and that's a different species. It's not human. And that's the blue blood is because when you mix the blood, instead of being red, it's actually blue.
So you see it as
That's
blue.
what I was going to ask you. So if someone bleeds, they would bleed literally blue?
In the original rendition, yeah. Now mostly they're kind of watered down because they've also been breeding with humans to get the keys to the gates, which are the 48 genetic strands. Those are actually the keys to the Stargate systems. That's why think of they're so purist that they marry their own daughter and have kids with their own daughter and their own son and all this. Why are they mixing with humans? Because they want those keys. But in doing so, it has caused their blood to be mixed more and more with humans. So they're not the original complete blue blood as they were created by Lucifer with the help of the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki are the ones that came from the planet Nibiru or Planet X to help Lucifer to engineer a race to mine gold and be slaves for them.
Right. Okay, gotcha.
Are we descendants? Or are we the creation of the Anunnaki?
Humans aren't.
Yeah.
Humans are created by the one creator of all things. The blue bloods, or the bloodlines of the black nobility, are the creation of the Anunnaki, and their goal was to actually show ancient, during this time, if Hillary had won, and the people that were left after the nuclear war, they would have said, the Anunnaki, which are our gods, which we're part of, again showing they're part of, they were created by. Created the human race. No, they didn't create the human race. They kidnapped the human race and then hybrided them and created a new race, which is them.
Which is them.
And are they still living?
Yes, the black nobility is huge. You've got at the top the Mohawk Indian line, which has several groups in it, like the Pashers. The Rothschilds are actually in the lower chambers, not the upper chambers. The Pashers are the upper chamber, along with one of the way up there is the Borgia family, the Borghese, and those families like that.
If someone is Rh negative, Gene, can they be? I mean, are they pretty much immune to all our earthly diseases here?
They're more immune to them because those diseases are created to call humanity.
And could a, like one of us, an average person, a normal person, a regular person, could we also have Rh negative blood?
Yep. Because again, they love sex with humans.
Right.
And so they go out and rape all the time, human women. And so when they do that, they don't care what happens to the human. If the human woman gets away somehow or gets rescued, they don't keep track. They don't care about their kids. They Mark Ultra their own kids, sacrifice their own kids. They're barbaric beyond comprehension. They do the worst thing to their own children.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could certainly care less about, a BTAR child.
So they don't have that emotional attachment gene, right?
Yes. And so they're not going to care, that somebody is part of them and part of the human race. They're not going to keep track of that. So we have, literally millions of people that have Rh negative that are, mostly human.
And the people that have the Rh negative blood, do they have a certain, like, let's say, for example, they don't realize they're Rh negative, but do they have a certain personality type that they're easily manipulated or destructive?
Yes, it tends to be, especially if you're a blue-eyed blonde or red-haired, that's heading more towards the Rh negative. Even if you don't have Rh negative, that's showing more, and they're more easily mind controlled. They look for those types for Mark Ultra and the 20-year and BRAC programs like MyLabs, and that's more easily manipulated, more easily mind controlled, more easily hybrid for their genetics, that type of thing.
If someone has Rh negative and then for somehow they're transfused with a different blood type, is there some sort of shock to the system that happens? Can they absorb any other type of blood?
Rh negative can only get Rh negative. If they get something else, it's a shock.
And what about the people that are Rh negative and then they have children? Is there a cause for, like, do they have to, I mean, should they only be mating with the same blood type, or?
No, anybody can mate with anybody, and if you don't have an Rh negative partner, you could have any type of blood, depending on the partner's blood. The children could have anything.
It's not a cause for, let's say, autism or a higher level of having the child have disabilities or anything of that nature?
Now, all of that autism and disabilities is, again, the Aristorats coming
Vaccines.
in through vaccines and things, trying to keep indigo children from waking up to realizing their power, to stop the great awakening of the human race. It's them trying to stop what God's plans.
When you take a look at the majority of the celebrities out there, do they have this non-human bloodline?
Yeah.
A lot of them do. They're the lower levels of that non-human bloodline.
And do you think that they are aware that they have this non-human bloodline, or are they just kind of clueless to it and they've just been MK Ultra'd?
You have both. Again, like we mentioned earlier, it's usually all of the above.
Yeah.
And when in doubt, all the above,
All
right?
the above.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been hearing a lot about Planet X. Can you help us understand what it is? What is the big, what's it all about?
So, because the human race is here, we have to be in a trinary because it's got to mimic the triune God. So we have to be in a trinary star system, which we are. We have two sister suns that orbit our sun. One of those is called Nemesis, which is a brown dwarf that orbits every 25,920 years. That's why the Earth, you can get the figure very easy because the Earth wobbles on its axis. It's called in the Bible the precession of the Mazzaroth. 1 degree every 72 years. So if you multiply 72 by 360, you get the orbit of Nemesis, which is caused by Nemesis. Because if you took two like poles of a magnet, they push. So as that system comes up into our system, it causes the Earth to be pushed away, and then as it leaves, it rotates, it recompensates. As Nemesis comes in, it comes in with its outer three planets, which are where the Anunnaki are. That is Nibiru, which used to be part of this solar system, but it was captured in a cataclysmic when Tiamat was destroyed. Nemesis captured it. So it's now the seventh planet of that system, also, what we call Planet X as well. Nibiru, then Helion, and Argoda are the other three. So you see those four coming in the year, starting in the early parts of 2014. It comes in at an 86-degree negative angle to the ecliptic of our solar system. In other words, it comes up from underneath, it passes, so it's only seen in like the lower polar regions of Antarctica and South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. And it was seen, and I got lots and lots of pictures of that sent to me by people from all over the world. And then it came in and passes behind the sun and behind the Earth. And then it comes back out. It came back out in 2017, passes between us and the sun. And then it was seen in the Arctic areas, as well as Upper Canada, Upper Europe. And 2017, 18, and then late 2019, it passes again completely below the ecliptic and is now completely out of our system, our solar system. So it means it won't be back for another 25,900 and about 17 years now.
So what's everybody worried about then?
A bunch of cabal tricks.
Ah, okay, good. So we just cleared that up then. No, so what you're saying then, anyone that has worry about the Planet X and all that, it's just nothing. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Already done and gone.
Speaking of planets, let's one. I want to get this one out of the way. The Earth being flat. Where did this idea come from?
Well, it comes from two things. First of all, if a person is still second density, then for them it actually is flat. Like second density life, they don't have height. They only have width and depth. They can't visualize height at all. In their mind, they can't visualize something in imagination, the ability to image. They cannot visualize, for example, a soccer ball. They actually visualize a round circle, and they don't visualize a sphere. And so they're actually 2D. And then the cabal wanted that. They realized that, and they realized it would be a great psyop. So they got a Navy, an Army guy, Colonel Aquino, to make a psyop on it and use all kinds of fake, like my dad used to tell me, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. And so they got him to use all this math to inappropriately, using the math wrong, to prove that the Earth was flat. And this is to make Lucifer look really threatening and big, because if it's just the Earth with a few pinpoints of light in our sun and the human race and that's it, then he looks like a really big bad dude. And God, the creator of all things, his creation looks pretty tiny. But if you realize that there's 100 billion trillion galaxies out there, and all of those have over 100 billion stars, and every one of those have many planets with all sentient life, is all over the place. God's creation looks really massive now, which makes Lucifer, just in the Milky Way, look pretty dinky and tiny, like a local, like when you were in elementary school and you had bullies, right? And then you get out in the big world and they're just these little tiny kind of nasty dudes.
Like a nasty little gnat, right?
So we can check off then, no worry, Planet X done, and there is no flat Earth.
Well, it depends how your perspective is, though, right? Okay, so
That's
but
true.
let me ask you this, Gene. We'll speak with the Earth still. Is the Earth hollow in nature, or is there living things in the middle Earth of any sort?
Yes, absolutely. Again, NASA did this in the shuttles. You can spin water in an anti-gravity, and it'll actually wind up getting an air tube through the middle of it. And if you spin a 92 element ball of homogeneous material in space, it starts to centrifuge the heavy material to the center, which is, in the case of the table of the elements, thorium, plutonium, uranium, etc., which are all radioactive. So you start, if you get enough material, and this is actually, they don't tell you in school, teach you the truth, what classifies something like Pluto? They say it's a planetoid. Why is it not a planet? Because it's not hollow. It doesn't have a sun in the center. That material becomes fissioning, creates a gravity wave by breaking the atom and releasing the gravity waves that hold it together. It then pushes the material out around it, and then it starts to spin as well and creates an electromagnetic field, which then electromagnetism, 10 to the 95th power, stronger than gravity, opens up the liquid material at the poles. And then as volcanism happens, creating water, and rain comes down both on the inside and the outside, you have essentially like a liquid mantle that's encrusted on the inside and outside by a solid crust of rock. And then in the center of that, you have a small star. So in the center of the Earth is a small star, and there's 12 continents on the inside, and 7, again, all sacred geometry, 7 continents on the outside, 12 on the inside.
And
there's living things in there, huh?
Yep. And the species there are the remnants of the Lemurians and the Atlanteans that learned to work out their problems along with Thylosians and some other species. So you have Thylosia, you have Agartha, you have quite a few really species that have been watching over humanity all the way up into this time for the Great Awakening. And now we're actually helping to clear the mess up and helping humanity to clear the mess up on the surface and under the surface with all the dump tunnels and all of that, like we see going on right now in Australia.
Is there go ahead.
Okay, so the beings that are living inside the Earth, are they highly advanced beings? We'd like to share a story. While it may sound fictional, it's very real and happening right now in front of our very eyes. It's called The Great Awakening. Our sisters and brothers that come on Spiritually Raw are doing everything to help expand global consciousness, and in many cases putting everything on the line to share their messages about what's happening around the world for the greater good of humanity, while exposing the truth of the deep state and the dark forces behind it all.
In 2017, a mysterious anonymous entity on the internet started posting on the 4chan messaging board. He claimed to be a patriot with the highest level security clearance, and he called himself Q. Q has been steadily releasing the most massive inside intelligence to the public in the history of humanity. Q has predicted the deaths of powerful politicians, Hollywood celebrities, and the elite.
We are living in the most unbelievable times. Some may even say biblical, scary for many and yet exhilarating for others. Together we are taking part in getting everyone acclimated to the Great Awakening process and the exciting new discoveries that lie ahead. The sad part is many of our amazing guests are being heavily censored, socially shamed, and outright banned on many platforms for exposing the truth and piercing the veil. By becoming a viewer, you bring your powerful energy towards this global movement of other truth seekers. If you're resonating with our show, please let us know by hitting the like button, sharing, subscribing, turn on the notification, and leave some comments. We would also like to invite you to become a patron and connect with a global movement of others in search of the truth and receive members-only exclusive content in our private Facebook community. Patreon serves as a means to support Spiritually Raw's mission to wake up as many people worldwide and help them on their path to spiritual freedom, enlightenment, and global peace. Go to Patreon.com/Spiritually Raw to join our private community now. Together, we will turn the universal key to global harmony and create a unified world. And remember, tune in often, tell all your friends, and most importantly, may all your dreams come true. Thanks, and God bless Patriots worldwide.